What if the man you trusted with your life was quietly plotting your death? Samantha Dean was 7 months pregnant, building a life around helping victims of violent crime. But on a quiet February night in Texas, she became one herself. Found shot in the head, slumped in her own car in a dark and empty parking lot. No sign of a struggle, a bag of marijuana, a missing seat. This wasn't a random killing. It was staged. And behind the setup was someone Samantha knew. Someone she loved. Someone with a badge. Samantha Dean wasn't just another face in a headline. She was 29 years old, a cancer survivor, a graduate student, a devoted victim services coordinator for the Kyle Police Department in Texas, and above all, a soon-to-be mother. Before we begin, our hearts go out to the family of Samantha Dean and her unborn daughter, Maddie. No one should ever have to endure the pain of losing a loved one, let alone a mother and child taken in such a devastating way. As we tell this story, we do so with the deepest respect for Samantha's life, her legacy, and the unimaginable grief her family continues to carry. She was expecting a baby girl she had already named Maddie for short. She decorated a nursery. She was texting baby names to her sister. She was ready for the next chapter. But her story was cut short. Welcome to True Crime Diaries. This isn't just a murder case. It's a story of betrayal, deception, and a killer hiding behind a badge. As the truth unravels, so does the trust. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more gripping true crime stories. At 2 a.m. on February 4th, 2015, a Bastrop police officer patrolling a deserted shopping center noticed a black Dodge Charger parked alone in the corner of the lot. The door was ajar. Inside, he found Samantha Dean, slumped and lifeless. Her body was half-seated in the front passenger seat with a catastrophic head injury. She'd been shot 3 times, and she was still carrying her unborn daughter. The scene looked like a drug deal gone wrong. A plastic bag of marijuana sat near her, a little cash, a missing back seat. But none of it made sense. There was no blood on the bag, no shell casings in or around the car. Nothing was stolen. The back seat had been removed and left outside the vehicle. Detectives on the scene quickly realized something. This was staged, one said. Someone wanted this to look like a bad deal. But Samantha wasn't a drug dealer. She worked in law enforcement. When officers identified the victim, the mood shifted. Samantha wasn't just a civilian. She was one of their own, a member of the justice system, someone who spent her days helping people recover from trauma. The next question came quickly. Who would want her dead? Within hours, investigators began digging into her recent calls and messages. Inside the vehicle were 2 cell phones, one belonging to Samantha, the other unregistered, a burner phone. And when investigators unlocked it, everything started to unravel. Family and friends remembered Samantha as fiercely resilient. She had battled sarcoma in her elbow while attending college, never missing a class. She wanted to be a police officer, but the cancer's aftermath forced her to shift careers. Still, she found her calling, helping others heal. Her sister Taylor remembered their last conversation. She was so excited, she said. She told me she felt Maddie kick for the first time. She couldn't wait to be a mom. Coworkers echoed the same love and admiration. She had this light, a colleague said. You don't forget people like Sam. You just don't.
She's an excellent person, and I think it's amazing that even after, she's strong because she beat cancer and she kept going and until now, but love her and miss her.
Every time that I saw her, especially with her baby bump now, I'm gonna miss her because everybody knew she was gonna be an outstanding mother.
Samantha was special. She was the most delightful and goofy person who consumed her body weight in sugar every day. She won't be remembered as a statistic. She won't be thought of as Kyle Police Department Victim Services Coordinator whose life was taken. She will be remembered as Samantha Dean, friend and family.
Everyone tells me as time passes it'll get better, but I'm just not feeling that right now. I miss her so much.
which is why it came as a punch to the gut when the name VonTrey Clark surfaced in her phone records. Clark wasn't just anyone. He was an Austin police officer and the father of Samantha's unborn child. They'd had an on and off relationship for over 7 years. It wasn't public. In fact, VonTrey was living with another woman, raising 2 children in a home owned by his long-term partner, Laura Tootin. Samantha's pregnancy, it turns out, was a threat to that secret life. And according to text messages recovered from her phone, VonTrey didn't want the baby. He begged her to get an abortion, repeatedly. But she said no. And then she ended up dead. As police followed the trail, they discovered that VonTrey had a secret phone, that someone had lured Samantha to that exact parking lot, and that the crime scene was carefully crafted. But what they didn't know yet was just how far VonTrey was willing to go to cover his tracks. He wasn't working alone. And one of the people involved, he called him brother. From the start, VonTrey Clark positioned himself as cooperative. When Bastrop County investigators first called him in, he sat across from them and offered a calm explanation. It wasn't love, he said. It was just physical. Sam and I weren't serious. Clark described his relationship with Samantha Dean as casual, convenient, even disposable. He admitted that he never told his partner, Laura Tootin, about the affair. And when asked about the pregnancy, he shrugged it off. I told her I didn't want the baby, it would ruin everything. To police, it was clear. VonTrey had motive. But motive wasn't enough.
Mr. Clark, like I said, first and foremost, my condolences. I know you told me a little bit on the phone that, and we'll clarify exactly what relationship y'all had or didn't have, but regardless of the fact, you told me something critical on the phone, and that was that, you know, she was carrying your baby. So my condolences, but I'm very grateful you're here, so that way we can figure out, one, I get to know her a little bit more, know more about her life, and hopefully find out what happened to her. So with that said, tell me, how long have you known her?
I've known Sam for 6 years, maybe 7 years.
Clark claimed he had dinner with Laura and the kids the night Samantha was killed, finishing by 8:30 p.m. He then said he went to the Austin Police Department's South Substation to catch up on some paperwork.
So 9:30, I left. I went to the school. We have a school right across the street. Actually, I live right across the street from Sam. I don't know if you know that, but we live fairly close together. So I left because in my current relationship, we're going through problems. So I left and just stayed out for a while. I just chilled in my car, walked around for a little bit, then I ended up going to the police station.
Security footage confirmed he was there, but only for 23 minutes. That left a massive window of time unaccounted for. Laura, his partner, confirmed something chilling. Clark had left his cell phone at home. And the burner phone? The one recovered from Samantha's car? It had been activated that same day. Investigators now suspected Clark was using a second phone to conceal his movements. The more they pulled on that thread, the more came loose.
That you want to tell me that might help me? Or
the only thing, there's nothing that I know about Sam that I can think of that would help. But when I was talking to Stephanie earlier today, she mentioned some things about Sam called the police on someone, I guess a neighbor or something.
Stephanie
Burgess. It's Sam's best friend.
The emotional toll on Samantha's family was devastating. Her mother stood before the media holding back tears. She wanted this baby so badly, she said. She was building a life. She was going to be an amazing mom. Her sister Taylor posted a message on social media. He didn't just kill Sam, he killed Maddie too. Meanwhile, Clark stayed quiet, still on restricted duty at the department under internal investigation. Behind the scenes, authorities were building a digital map. Burner phones, texts, timestamps, surveillance footage. And they started with the call history of that mysterious prepaid phone left at the crime scene. That phone, the burner, had only contacted 2 numbers. One was Samantha's. The other, another burner. Police tracked the purchase of the phone to a Walmart in Stafford, Texas. Surveillance cameras showed a man in a red hoodie buying the device while speaking on another phone the entire time. He exited the store, got into a white Toyota, and drove off. Detectives ran the plates. The car was registered to a woman named Kyla Fisk. Her husband, a longtime friend of VonTrey Clark. Some would even say, a brother. Kevin wasn't just any acquaintance. He and Clark grew up together. They had called each other brothers for years. Kevin had fallen on hard times, an electrician turned drug dealer with a growing rap sheet. Still, their bond held. Kevin's mother, Denise Hill, once said, "VonTrey was like a second son. I watched both boys grow into men. I never thought either would end up in something like this." But investigators were thinking differently. The burner phone in the red hoodie man's hand was now linked to both Kevin and Kyla, and phone records proved that in the hours leading up to Samantha's death, it had contacted yet another burner. The second burner connected to a third. That third phone had called and messaged Freddy Smith, a known gang affiliate, a man with a violent record, and another friend of Kevin Watson. Suddenly, what started as a lone murder began to look like a conspiracy. Investigators laid out the diagram. Clark was the motive. Kevin was the connection. Freddy was the executioner. Now all they needed was proof. Are you seeing how deep this thing runs? Let us know in the comments. Do you think VonTrey planned it all? Or was Kevin the real mastermind? Tap that like button if you're gripped and hit subscribe, because the FBI gets involved and what they uncover will shock you. The trap was closing in. One phone led to another, one connection to the next. Wiretaps were set. Surveillance followed. The entire network began to crack. But police didn't expect what came next. Because when they finally pressed Kevin's wife, Kyla, about the calls from her home, she said, "I don't even know VonTrey Clark." Was that the truth? Or was someone hiding more than just a phone? 5 days after Samantha Dean's murder, her co-worker received a chilling text message. "I fucking got her. I'm gonna get him. Then I'm coming for you. I'll show you what a crisis is." It was anonymous, untraceable. The tone was violent. Investigators were forced to consider. Was Samantha the victim of a stalker? Was there someone else? Or was it all a distraction? Bastrop County detectives followed the digital trail again. This new number 2 came from a prepaid phone bought at a Walmart in Katy, Texas. Surveillance footage showed 2 men buying the phone together and leaving in a vehicle. The license plate registered to a man named Aaron Williams, a known associate of Kevin Watson. Now police were looking at a tightly wound network of 4 men: VonTrey Clark, the father, the motive; Kevin Watson, the planner, the bridge; Freddy Smith, the hitman; Aaron Williams, the messenger. Aaron was arrested and charged with retaliation, and under pressure he cracked. At first, Aaron played dumb. He didn't know what phone, didn't know what murder, hadn't heard a thing, but prosecutors weren't buying it. Neither was the FBI.
It's very apparent through the phone conversations you've had with Kevin, through your behavior, through everything else, that you know what's going on.
What we're asking today is we want to know what these other people did, what he saw them do, what he knows what they do. That's what we're asking. What they've told him, because he knows on the phone calls are recorded. He's mentioned their names. He's talked about, putting the pieces. They talked about it. They're not putting the pieces together yet. They're not linking you to these people yet. There's a lot of stuff that was talked about in phone calls that leads us to believe he knows about what happened 5 days prior to them going to Bastrop and sending that threat.
But that he was married, and I guess he got that girl pregnant, and she didn't want to give it up.
Okay, and when you say treason, I know you don't know his real name. What do you know about Treasy?
I don't know nothing about him.
You don't know where he lives or what he does, or?
I know he's a cop and lives in Austin.
Okay, so if Treasy's a cop in Austin, it's a friend of...
Eventually, Aaron admitted the truth Kevin told me. He said Trey didn't want the baby. Said he paid Freddy maybe $5,000 to take care of it. Aaron didn't know all the details, but he knew enough to expose the motive.
Told me that they killed the girl. I don't know.
Did he tell you who actually pulled the trigger?
No, he didn't tell me who.
You said they?
Yeah, they went out there and they went out there to kill that girl. And Tree was gonna pay him some money to do it. I don't know if he did or not.
Did he say how much he was gonna pay him?
I think $5,000
a piece or all together?
I don't know.
You know?
I don't know. And that's what he told me.
So they basically told you that they
just went out there.
They went out there and killed her.
Yeah.
They being Kevin and Freddy.
Yeah.
VonTrey had orchestrated it. Samantha's death wasn't a crime of passion. It was a business transaction, a setup, a hit. And the killer? He was a cop. She told me he'd kill her, said Samantha's best friend. She was scared. She wrote it in her journal. She even told me she didn't feel safe anymore. In Samantha's diary, police found chilling entries describing VonTrey tying her up under the guise of foreplay, while still wearing his police uniform and carrying his service weapon. She told friends she thought he might have killed her that night, but changed his mind. Now it seemed he just needed someone else to finish the job. As the FBI got involved, they deployed one of their best tools, wiretaps. Dozens of phones, hundreds of hours of calls. Conversations between Kevin, Freddy, and Kyla were monitored. The tone was casual, but the details were telling. In one recorded call, Kevin told Freddy, "I messed up. I called Kyla from the burner. I had her get directions to your house." In another, Kevin reassured his wife, "Just tell them you don't know VonTrey. You don't. You've never met him." But Kyla wasn't innocent. During one jailhouse call, Kevin instructed her to get rid of his hoodie and sweatpants, the same clothes he'd been wearing the night Samantha was murdered. "Take care of it like I said. They can't find that." Kyla obliged. And just like that, she became part of the crime, whether she knew it or not. While investigators were piecing together phone records and burner connections, another loose thread unraveled everything: the murder weapon. Kevin told Aaron they'd lost the gun after the killing, that they had to return to Bastrop to find it. Kevin had driven all the way back, broke into his own car because he locked the keys inside, only to discover the gun was still there. It had slipped from VonTrey's waistband and lodged between the seat and the console. He had driven for hours, with the murder weapon inches from his hand. With enough testimony, call logs, and surveillance footage, the picture became clearer. VonTrey used a burner phone to lure Samantha out that night, posing as someone selling an iPad. He instructed her to bring $120 and meet him in Bastrop. She stopped at a convenience store ATM, withdrew $100, and followed the directions. There, in the empty shopping lot, she waited. Kevin and Freddy pulled up. Freddy got in the car with her. He attempted to shoot, but the gun jammed. He lied, told her he forgot the charger, stepped out to fix the weapon. He returned. This time it worked. One shot, then two, then a third. She didn't even get a chance to scream. It's chilling to think how close this plan came to working. But the burner phones, the calls, the hoodie, they started to collapse the whole thing. If this story has you stunned, hit that like button. And drop a comment. Do you think Kevin was just a pawn? Or was he always the muscle behind VonTrey's plan? Make sure to subscribe. In the next part, we follow the international manhunt and the betrayal that brought this case to its knees. VonTrey Clark was spiraling. Investigators had enough to arrest him, but he wasn't about to face trial. Instead, he vanished, fled the country, and while the FBI scrambled to find him, a final betrayal brought the whole plan to light. His brother Kevin? He flipped. By July 2015, the evidence against VonTrey Clark was overwhelming. His burner phone was traced. His friend Kevin had flipped. The staged crime scene was crumbling under scrutiny. So Clark did what cowards do. He ran. An arrest warrant had just been issued when authorities discovered that Clark had fled the country to Bali, Indonesia, under the pretense of spiritual healing. He didn't inform his department. He didn't notify his supervisors. He just vanished. To investigators, this was it. You don't run if you're innocent, one agent said. You run when you're guilty and scared.
Left the country. He is last known to have arrived in Jakarta, Indonesia, the city of Jakarta, Indonesia. It's a city of probably about 10 million people. It is a city in a country, or a city in a country that does not have an extradition treaty with the United States. I'm sure Mr. Clark will find this press conference. I have a message to you. If you have any dignity, if you have any semblance of humanity left in you, Mr. Clark, get back on that plane and come back here to Austin. If you're innocent, prove it. Come over here and face the music.
An international fugitive was now on the FBI's radar. It wasn't just about justice anymore. It was about optics. A police officer, accused of orchestrating a pregnant woman's murder, had fled American soil. The Justice Department wasn't going to let this go. Behind closed doors, federal agents started working on extradition. Publicly, Clark was labeled a suspect. Privately, he was the target of a manhunt. He'd be in Bali for 5 weeks, but he wouldn't stay there. On September 2nd, 2015, a U.S. government plane touched down in Austin, Texas. Inside was VonTrey Clark, escorted back by federal agents in cuffs. His first arrest? Visa violations. But no one was fooled. He was about to be hit with capital murder charges. The same day, indictments were prepared for Kevin Watson, Freddy Smith, and Clark himself.
In custody pursuant to an arrest warrant for the offense of capital murder at 12:03 a.m. on today's date.
Samantha was part of our law enforcement family here in Central Texas. We thought we had to go to great lengths to do what we could do to bring back VonTrey Clark in the interest of justice.
Samantha Dean, wonderful individual. This should not have happened.
The case was finally coming together, but prosecutors still had one major obstacle. No one could prove exactly who pulled the trigger. That's when Kevin flipped again, this time with a full confession. Kevin's testimony was haunting. Trey couldn't stop talking about it. He said the baby would ruin his life. He said if she had the baby, Laura would leave him. Everything would collapse. In his signed statement, Kevin said VonTrey had planned the murder for months, even tried to kill her once before by handcuffing her in a car, planning to run a hose from the exhaust to the window. But he backed out at the last minute. Then VonTrey gave Kevin the green light. He didn't have to say it, I knew what he meant. Kevin claimed that Freddy Smith was brought in as the shooter, that they would lure Sam to the parking lot, that they'd stage the scene with weed and cash to make it look like a drug deal. They even bought a plastic bag of marijuana just to plant in the car. Freddy said the gun jammed the first time, Kevin added. So they circled back, fixed it, and came back. And that's when she died.
Trey convinced her to leave that house with him, 7 months pregnant, at that time of night, and go out to Bastrop for...
To buy a tablet?
Yes, sir.
I don't know. I don't know. So as far as I know, he was meeting us under the guise of buying a tablet. That's what I do know. He's like, this fucking guy. And he, jokes about him, panicking and all that stuff a little bit. And he tells me about how he was in the backseat and he shot her twice bam, bam. And then Trey wanted the gun. And then he handed Trey the gun. And Trey he said something crazy and then shot her once. And that was pretty much what happened. And he's like, that's why we couldn't find the third fabrication, because this guy can't even find a case.
When you say Nick said something crazy, any idea what that would be? Do you remember at all?
Something like "fuck you, bitch" or something, you know, some TV shit, something that people don't really do.
While Kevin spoke freely, VonTrey took a different route: blame. In his version of the story, Kevin and Freddy killed Samantha. He admitted to wanting her dead, but denied ever giving the go-ahead. He claimed he waited down the street while something happened. Claimed he didn't pull the trigger, didn't plan it, didn't pay for it.
I did not kill Samantha Dean, and that's where I'm at right now. That's what I'm charged with. That's what I'm facing. I remember the day. I wake up on a Saturday morning. I guess it was September. To a text from Sam, and it says something like, "I need to talk to you." Okay, tell me, what do you need to talk to me about? I'm afraid to tell you. Just tell me. She tells me she's pregnant.
No, actually, you guessed she was pregnant, right?
I don't want to have a child with her. I don't want to have that type of relationship with her. So I told her I'll come talk to her. And at that point, she tells me that how she got pregnant. She took the condom and she turned it inside out, and she used the condom to get pregnant. That's what set this whole thing off. That's when I said, I'm going to hurt this girl. I ended up telling Kevin that I got this girl pregnant and I wasn't going to let her have this baby. And I was going to do something to her. At the time, I didn't know what, but I had planned to kill this girl.
Yeah.
Prosecutors didn't buy it, especially not when the phone data placed him at every scene. The house, the lot, the gas station, the phone tower, the moment she died. VonTrey's alibi wasn't just thin, it was shredded. This case was chilling from the start, but now the betrayal runs even deeper. Do you think VonTrey actually pulled the trigger, or did he let his brothers do the dirty work? VonTrey Clark once called Kevin Watson his brother, but now they sat on opposite sides of the courtroom, one in a witness chair, the other on trial for murder. And as the jury prepared to decide VonTrey's fate, one last man, the alleged trigger man, stood silent, denying it all. Would the jury believe Kevin's version, or would the man with the gun walk free? In June 2022, over 7 years after Samantha Dean's brutal murder, Freddy Smith finally stood trial. By now, Kevin Watson had already accepted a plea deal for capital murder, agreeing to testify against both Clark and Smith. His sentence: life in prison with a chance for parole after 35 years. But Freddy, he maintained his innocence. He denied pulling the trigger, denied knowing the full scope of the plan, denied being the man in the back seat that night. The courtroom held its breath as the prosecution laid out its case, built on forensics, digital footprints, and Kevin's testimony. Forensics never lie. A ballistics expert testified that the bullets recovered from Samantha's body had distinctive rifling patterns, matching those from a .25 caliber pistol. Prosecutors introduced a 2013 photo recovered from Freddy's phone. It showed 2.25 caliber handguns laid out on a table. One of these guns, the expert said, was likely used to kill Samantha Dean. The bullets matched the type of weapon. The image linked it to Freddy, and Kevin's testimony placed that same gun in Freddy's hands, twice that night, once when it jammed, and again when it didn't. Kevin Watson took the stand, calm, controlled, brutally honest. Trey said she had to go, Kevin recalled. He couldn't lose his career, couldn't lose Laura, so I said I'd help. He looked directly at Freddy. You shot her, You know you did. Freddy stared back in silence. He didn't flinch, didn't shake his head. He just looked. The courtroom sat in silence, the weight of that moment lingering like smoke. The defense tried to tear Kevin down. "You're the one who bought the burner phones," they argued. "You drove the car. You planned the meetup. You had every opportunity to act alone." But Kevin didn't crack. He owned his part, but never wavered on Freddy's role. Even Kyla Fisk, Kevin's wife, testified. She admitted she disposed of Kevin's stained clothes. She admitted she lied during her first interview. But she insisted she only learned the truth after the fact. "He asked me to get rid of the hoodie," she said. "Said it was from a job. I didn't know it was that kind of job." In the end, the jury didn't believe Freddy's silence. They believed the mountain of circumstantial evidence. They believed Kevin. They believed the science. And after 2 weeks of testimony, Freddy Smith was found guilty of capital murder, sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. With Kevin and Freddy both convicted, only one name remained: VonTrey Clark. He had fought hard, filed appeals, bought time. But by late 2023, he ran out of options. Faced with overwhelming evidence, damning testimony, and the possibility of death row, Clark finally made his move. He pled guilty to capital murder. The sentence: life without parole. The deal spared him the death penalty. But it gave Samantha Dean's family something far more important: closure.
Closure, because closure to me means that everything has been taken care of, and we would go back home and Sammy would be there and Maddie would be riding around on her bike, but that's not the case. What this is a resolution.
If you've stayed with us through this emotional journey, thank you. This case was about more than a murder. It was about betrayal, manipulation, and a woman silenced before she ever got the chance to meet her baby girl. If this story moved you, please hit like, leave a comment, and subscribe to True Crime Diaries. We share real stories, real justice, and real people who deserve to be remembered. Samantha Dean wasn't just a statistic. She was a sister, a daughter, a friend, a mother. She survived cancer. She helped victims of violence every single day. She named her baby. She built a nursery. She believed that people, even broken ones, could be redeemed. But one man decided his secret was more important than her life. He didn't just kill Samantha. He killed Maddie. He killed their future. Her family still mourns, but they also speak her name every day, loudly. So we remember Samantha Dean not for how she died, but for how she lived, with strength, grace, and the heart of a fighter. Rest in peace, Samantha, and baby Maddie too. You'll never be forgotten.